de trazer Bom dia, Patrícia. Bom dia, Nico. Bom dia, Joe, Thiago.
Bom dia.
Bom dia, professor Cris Flowers.
Bom dia.
Muito obrigado pela sua disponibilidade, por ser um verdadeiro títere nessa causa, tá? Por nos dar a oportunidade de conviver consigo e pela sua postura decisiva em favor da humanidade e, particularmente, das crianças. Muito obrigado por estar presente conosco aqui hoje. O Joe hoje é nosso organizador, tá? Ele que vai aqui conduzir aqui a nossa conversa. Os 3 coordenadores do Médicos pela Vida aqui presentes, a Patrícia, o Carlos Negro e eu, vamos estar acompanhando as lives internacionais que faremos todo mês. E o Joe ficou com a responsabilidade de trazer os convidados. Então, está organizando esta pauta, esta agenda. E quando nós conversamos e combinamos, ele, sem titubear, sem pestanejar, escolheu o senhor como primeiro de nossos convidados, tá? Sem sombra de dúvida, não foi à toa, tá? E estamos, né, aqui todos hoje bastante agradecidos e assim, bem ansiosos para ouvir a sua participação. O senhor nos traz aqui hoje, não só para nós médicos, mas para todas as pessoas que precisam beber do conhecimento científico verdadeiro. Muito obrigado.
É o Carlos, a Patrícia primeiro, para dar uma palavra.
Em português mesmo, João? Melhor, né?
Chris, do you have English subtitle for you?
I do, but I can't read it. It doesn't make any sense at all. This is not like normal Google Translate. I can't understand a word.
No problem. He just introduced you, and you're going to be the first of this, program international program from Dr. Life. Okay, now Dr. Carlos Negro, and right after Dr. Patricia will speak, and so then we can start. Okay.
Dr. Cris Flowers, it's a pleasure to us. You are with us today, and you are a very important doctor in this moment that we are. It's happening now in Brazil. You stay with us in many opportunities, by in person and virtual. And thank you very much for all the things that you are doing for us in Brazil here, and for all over the world. And that's you are the first one to start this sequence of interviews with international speakers. And thank you very much again. It's a pleasure to us in MPV.
Thank you. Obrigado.
Well, Dr. Cris, I'm Patricia Calisteris from Bolivia, but I'm Brazilian too. I'm representing Médicos pela Vida Latin America. We work always together with John, Dr. Antonio, Carlos, and everyone, and I'm so glad to be here. It's an honor for me. I think we can make the same you make in Brazil, in other countries. I think it's important to spread the truth, and thank you very much for your work. Thank you very much. So I think these lives is important because some of our colleagues says that it's fake news about everything is happening in the world. So I think they have too much to study, and we must spread the truth Thank you very much, Dr. Cris.
Thank you, obrigado, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you all today. I represent a group of nearly 3,400 volunteers, medical volunteers who worked with the group organized by Steve Bannon's the War Room and Naomi Wolf's Daily Clout to investigate, read and digest the Pfizer documents that the FDA tried to hide for 75 years. So we've done the research in Pfizer's papers, in Pfizer's own words. And as a result, this is what actually happened. And so that's why I'm at the beginning. I'm giving you the foundation of everything that went wrong, that was covered up. I mean, just as a start, why would anyone want to prevent regular doctors from finding out what Pfizer's clinical trial was about for 75 years?
Okay.
Just think about it.
Okay, let me make a short introduction, Dr. Cris. Olá, boa noite a todos do Médico pela Vida. Eu sou o John Cage. Vou fazer uma série de lives aqui no canal de vocês, trazendo palestrantes internacionais. Então, primeiramente, queria parabenizar e agradecer o presidente aqui, o Dr. Jordão, o Dr. Carlos Nigro, que eu já conheço há muito tempo, desde a época das manifestações contra o passaporte sanitário, na Avenida Paulista. A gente fez uma série de eventos, audiências públicas, né, doutor Carlos? Né? Lá desde 2021, vem a nossa história, essa jornada com Médicos pela Vida, a doutora Patrícia também, né? E aqui, para inaugurar essa série de entrevistas internacionais, eu trouxe o Dr. Cris Flowers, não só pelo extenso currículo que ele tem como radiologista, como membro da Academia Americana, Britânica, né, de Radiologia, de Oncologia. Ele lecionou na Califórnia, lá na Flórida, depois na Europa também, porque ele é um dos principais líderes, né, desses estudos dos trials da Pfizer, dos estudos clínicos da Pfizer com voluntários, que foi realizado de agosto de 2020 a dezembro de 2020. Então, toda essa história se inicia porque o juiz dos Estados Unidos pediu para o CDC remover do bunker os mais de 55 mil estudos, né? Porque estariam em sigilo de 75 anos. E aí abre-se a caixa de Pandora, né? Imediatamente, uma jornalista chamada Naomi Wolf, ela faz uma convocação mundial de voluntários e aparecem médicos, pesquisadores, auditores e se debruçam sobre esses 55 mil estudos, né? E aí começam a aparecer 1.291 efeitos colaterais, que já é notório no mundo todo. James Thorpe, que participou de audiências públicas conosco também no Brasil, liderou a parte em relação a abortos e a bebês. E o Dr. Cris Flowers, recentemente, foi lançado o segundo livro sobre esses trials, sobre esses estudos. E dos 34 estudos, Cris Flowers liderou 31 estudos. Ele participou da nossa primeira audiência pública internacional em agosto de 23, juntamente com o Dr. Peter McCallum, o Dr. Pierre Corey, a doutora Jessica Rose, o Dr. James Thorpe, o Dr. Ryan Cole, e depois, posteriormente, no Senado Federal, em fevereiro de 24, e aí a gente inicia toda uma jornada de audiências públicas dentro dos estados de Santa Catarina e Paraná, e dentro dos municípios das cidades, em Santa Catarina, Gaspar, Pomerode, Guaramirim, e recentemente no Paraná, mais 8 cidades: Marechal Rondon, Céu Azul, Mercedes, Londrina, Maringá, Umuarama, Corbélia e, para finalizar, Cascavel. Dr. Cris Flowers, muito obrigado. Thank you very much for you being a godfather from Brazilian kids. It's very important your participation. Dr. Cris Flowers esteve presente no Brasil, participando da audiência pública lá na ALEP, Assembleia do Paraná, e no evento na Assembleia de Santa Catarina. Está voltando para o Brasil. Dr. Cris Flowers is a kind of half, Brazilian. So thank you, Dr. Cris Flowers. I just want to make this short introduction. E eu conheço o Dr. Cris Flowers em Genebra, quando estivemos lá para derrubar a assinatura do tratado pandêmico. Estivemos também em setembro do ano passado em Tóquio, participando do ICS-6, juntamente com Robert Maloney, com Alejandro Dias, Ryan Cole, Jessica Rose e tantos outros médicos aí renomados no mundo todo. So, Dr. Cris Flowers, thank you very much. First of all, I want you to talk about your participation in our public hearings.
Thank you indeed.
So talk about your participation in our public hearings, your opinion, our other speakers, and about the situation of Brazilian kids, this mandate for kids getting to school, please.
Yep, indeed. I'm sorry, I'm trying to share the with you. I could do this on Zoom, but it isn't working with Google Meet. So I'm sorry, I don't have the pictures to share.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
So
don't worry.
It's a shame because it's really very interesting. John and I first met when he asked me to talk to the public hearing down in Porto Alegre, and there I was sharing the information that we had found on the Pfizer clinical trial and the pediatric clinical trials, all of which showed that this was not safe and it was not effective. And that is the science that we were told to follow, but it's far from being correct. You don't follow that at all. So we then met in Geneva when we were protesting outside of the World Health Organization headquarters, because we were concerned especially about this new pandemic preparedness plan that they've got to control the world. So in other words, it won't be just like Lula in Brazil, but the whole world would be controlled from Geneva and the World Health Organization. So a lot of us presented there, and we met and we marched in our opposition to the WHO. Then we had a conference, the International COVID Summit in Tokyo in September of last year. We were very fortunate in that one of the senators there who had been vaccine injured invited us to present in the House of Representatives in their parliament, which was very useful for us all to share the information that we were all brought to the table about the problems with this lipid nanoparticle modified mRNA platform, which is extremely dangerous. And we have documented that in multiple reports in this book, which is being used as evidence for the new administration in the United States in several hearings, including Senator Ron Johnson and House Representative Thomas Massey, but also to the new Health and Human Services Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And the impact that we've had so far is that there is likely to be a change in the CDC childhood vaccination schedule, removing COVID shots from the childhood vaccination schedule. That is good news, because Brazil and a lot of other countries rely on the CDC for they say, well, the CDC say you've got to take it, so we're going to mandate you. We're going to forcibly mandate you. So it started in Brazil as the only country, but now it's rapidly spreading to Singapore, for example, where people are basically being forced to be vaccinated or they get fined, just like in Brazil, which is, it is staggering for those of us in the rest of the world who know what's going on, who have read the Pfizer documents, who know that this platform is dangerous, that the clinical trial showed that it neither prevented infection, it didn't stop you dying from COVID, and it was never tested for transmission. So regardless of what the CDC, with the director Rochelle Walensky at the time, was saying, it was never safe or effective. The safety was never tested. It was basically 2 weeks of testing in rats in Germany, in the BioNTech facility, and that's the sum total of the phase 1 trials. But they also stopped the placebo group. They ended it by giving everyone the vaccine after the clinical trial stopped. As a result, there is no control group. So it managed to hide the safety signals. And it was only after the huge numbers of people were found to have serious adverse events in the post-marketing follow-up that Pfizer was required to do, or the FDA, that people began to have their eyes opened. Now, unfortunately, the CIA and the State Department in the US have been in the forefront of misinformation, driving the false narrative that these are safe and effective. They have done censoring specialists and all those who spoke out against the vaccine, just even questioning it. They were cancelled. They were deplatformed. They lost their medical license. So a lot of the people who are talking to you over the period of weeks that you're going to be meeting with international doctors, a lot of those have suffered from their own government. It's their own government, basically, who are behind the censorship of any questions about this mRNA platform, which is extremely dangerous and we believe should be stopped immediately because of the ongoing issues of fertility and these adverse events, especially in children with myocarditis and autoimmune disease. Never mind all the list of other things that go on, including strokes and microclots throughout the body. Now, admittedly, it only affects a small percentage of people who've been vaccinated, but that is a large number and really is something that needs to be balanced out when you look at harms versus benefits of any intervention. So if in a healthy population, you want to do something that's going to prevent an illness, a vaccine is supposed to prevent an infection. That's the reason you take a vaccine. But the COVID shots never, ever prevented infection. All it did was make your body produce spike protein, which was the antigen, and you made the antibodies against it. And so it had some effect initially, but it wore off very, very, very quickly. So in other words, it doesn't actually have any effect after a short time. But it does have the long-standing effects of what that spike protein, the lipid nanoparticles, and the modified mRNA, what that does to the human body, as has been shown in the post-mortem examinations, which have been stained for spike protein, have shown that it's throughout the body. It's in the brain. You know, it crosses the placenta. It gets into children. This is why it is extremely dangerous. And people don't understand until they've actually read the data. The data shows, in Pfizer's own words, that there were 3 times as many women affected with serious adverse events than men, and the average age was 51. Now, 51 is a working age woman. It's not serious adverse events in old people that you might expect. It's in a young, working age population, and especially women, which is why a lot of people who just look at this data and say, this is a war against women. So if you, as a woman, have got any concern about other women and your babies, your children, you will not take this dangerous shot. So it's not just that, it affects all of us. I had a serious adverse event. There are so many of us who've been involved with these trial documents, who've actually been injured by the vaccine, that it made us more curious than normal. As a doctor, I always ask questions. A scientist always asks, you know, what's going on? Why is this happening? What are the causes? Okay, you say this is safe. Let's have a look at the evidence. Oh, wait a minute. It's not safe. Well, why did you tell me it was safe? You told me it was effective. Well, and then you find, well, it isn't actually very effective after 2 months. It's worn off. And now I'm left with the side effects of what you've given me. And it's not like these side effects are short-lived. They go on for a long time. They go on for the rest of your life. Think how many people have had strokes as a result of the COVID vaccine. Even in babies, in the trial documents, there were some children, and there was a baby who had the vaccine, and they were excluded from the trial, but they still had the vaccine, and one of them had a stroke. A baby had a stroke from having the vaccine because the mother was concerned she wanted the vaccine for a baby. Somehow she got it. You know, we have to stand up against this, which is why we're kicking up a fuss. We're telling everybody about it. We're telling our legislatures. And as I said earlier, I think we are now having some impact because of the new administration with RFK Jr. in charge of Health and Human Services, and the people we've got involved at the FDA and the CDC, I think, are going to make a big difference. And that, in the end, is going to help you in Brazil survive, to get rid of these shots and to become safe again. I mean, let's make Brazil safe again. Never mind just great again. Make it safe, because this mRNA is being used for virtually every new vaccine, because they can develop something within 100 days. It's a very profitable situation for Big Pharma. So we've got to stop this platform, which is what we're attempting to do through the United States Congress, through the Health and Human Services Health Secretary. Hopefully, then they will put pressure on your health minister and other health ministers around the world that they need to think again, and they certainly should not mandate these in children. It is unforgivable that they should insist and fine parents if babies and children don't take these shots. They're not vaccines, they're gene therapies. Vaccines are supposed to stop you getting the infection. But this was a gene therapy. It produces genes that change your cells to make spike protein. And it was wrongly put forward from EUA. It should have gone through a totally different committee, and it would never have got passed. If people actually looked at the Pfizer clinical trial data and showed what we showed, that there were more people who died who received the Pfizer vaccine than the placebo group. Yeah. So tell me, why would you pass that? If you were in that committee, why as a doctor would you say, yes, let's give that to people? It's safe and effective. You wouldn't, because it isn't doing the job that it was supposed to do. All we have got is the downsides. We don't want it. It's not protecting us from anything. But we're left to live with the circumstances and the problems brought to us by the mRNA. So I think that is the summary of what's gone on. The data is there. If I was able to share, I would show you and walk you through the Pfizer clinical trial, but John can give you the video, and you could actually insert this in the program here now. So maybe that's the best way to take that forward, John. But thank you for letting me share, and if you've got any questions, I will try and answer them.
Ok, thank you, Dr. Chris. Você tem alguma pergunta, Carlos e Patrícia? No?
That's all. As I say, it's Pfizer's words from Pfizer's doctor. Truth, because it all come out. We have only had need to be told. Now, I don't know what it's like in Brazil, but in the US, the medical societies, so the Academy of Pediatrics, for example, and the hospital systems were bribed for funding, that if they vaccinated a certain number of people, they would get extra funds. If you classified someone as dying from COVID, you got extra money.
Yeah.
So people made a lot of money out of this whole thing. Basically, it was a scam. So it was a way of transferring money. And it's the people who suffered. And it's the people who are still suffering because it takes time before the serious problems from the Biden administration and the errors of the CDC and the FDA are righted, that we know what is actually in there. People need to know, and it's coming out. It is slow, but it is coming out, and I think eventually when the FDA say, this is what happened, it wasn't fake news, I think people, doctors, our dear colleagues, will wake up and maybe even apologize to us. Because I see there was an article written about Doctors for Life in Brazil back in 2022, I think it was, saying, oh, you guys are just doing misinformation. No, this isn't misinformation. You know, wake up, guys. It's there in Pfizer's own documents. We've had them now since the beginning of 2022. So we know what's happened. So don't try and tell us that we're spreading misinformation. These are Pfizer's documents, Pfizer in Pfizer's own words. And if you keep saying, they can't argue with the data. The data is there. Yeah. The evidence is there. You know, open your eyes, guys, please, and see what, you know, you're pushing something that you really shouldn't do. Remember your Hippocratic oath. Do no harm.
Okay, Dr. Chris, thank you.
Dr. Chris, one question. How do you evaluate Robert Kennedy's work in the Trump administration now? And what are your expectations regarding what he can do to warn Americans about the risks of these vaccines and about an investigation to find and punish those responsible? What do you think about this?
Well, I think there are signs that things could go well. The problem is that you have people in both the Democrat and the Republican Party who are funded by their donors big time from big pharma. So, you know, there's someone in charge of the health committee in the Senate called Senator Bill Cassidy from Louisiana. Now, he is funded by Big Pharma, and he has insisted that RFK Jr. does not change the CDC schedule, does not investigate the COVID shots, etc., etc. But once RFK Jr. was appointed, he's just gone back in there this week and testified, you can't stop me. There is evidence here. Here is the scientific data. We're going to show you the data of these vaccines causing autism. We're going to show you that the COVID shots are dangerous. We're going to take the COVID shots off the childhood vaccination schedule. So I think there are signs that things are going well, Carlos. But we have to wait and see. The proof, it's called the proof of the pudding in English. I don't know if there's a Portuguese version of that, you know. But you've got to wait and see what actually happens. But we believe that we're going to get there. When we get there, there will be an effect for you in Brazil, a very positive effect for you to go out and get this thing stopped.
Yeah. We use the same expression, the truth of the pudding.
Joe,
Pode falar, doutor.
Deixe-me fazer também aqui uma pergunta ao professor Cris. Professor, a gente sabe temos a visão concreta do nível de responsabilidade ou de irresponsabilidade, né, da Pfizer e das demais fabricantes, né, das pseudo-vacinas. Então, uma coisa chama a atenção, é que a bula dessas injeções prevê a prescrição médica, prevê a prescrição por parte do médico, igual a um outro medicamento, a um antibiótico, um medicamento controlado, tarja preta, etc. A grande questão é por que isso não foi exigido, a prescrição médica? Porque nos parece que a indicação dessas injeções, que acabaram sendo o maior experimento da história, me parece, elas foram feitas pela grande mídia e principalmente pelo medo, pelo pânico criado em cima das pessoas. Então, a indicação não foi uma indicação médica, não tinha prescrição médica, receita médica para tomar as injeções. Era o pânico. E por que eu coloco isso? Porque o Brasil, muito se fala e se comemora de termos um dos maiores sistemas públicos de saúde do planeta, o SUS, Sistema Único de Saúde. E uma das pernas em que o SUS, né, se apoia é um pouco na medicina ou na saúde pública preventiva e no esquema de vacinação, que é forte. Então, nós temos todo um aparato pronto para injetar nas pessoas. Se o senhor passar numa consulta no posto de saúde, aí nós vamos ter técnicos de enfermagem, enfermeiros, e até profissionais burocratas já perguntando, já tomou a vacina Covid? Se não tomou, tome agora. Então, tem a postura, de certa maneira, coercitiva, né? Ela chega a ser intimidatória, eu diria, no sentido de que as pessoas sejam injetadas. Então, aí assim, de que adianta nós termos um grande aparato que hoje ele serve para trazer não o bem-estar das pessoas, mas pelo contrário, trazer efeitos adversos de algo que não é vacina e que é vendido como vacina. Então, nós temos aqui uma questão da indicação, de quem foi a indicação para tomar as injeções, por que não houve a prescrição médica e por que houve e continua havendo um desrespeito persistente ao atestado de isenção vacinal. Então, ora, o atestado médico de isenção vacinal é um documento formal balizado e avalizado pelos diversos tratados internacionais, desde Helsinki, né, à Declaração Universal dos Direitos do Homem e do Cidadão. Então, a gente tem uma série de acordos internacionais. E este documento tem sido reiteradamente desrespeitado. Então, a legislação, não só internacional, mas também nacional, aqui é o caso do Brasil, ela tem sido desrespeitada por diversos agentes públicos, que vão desde os vacinadores, ali na porta dos postos de saúde, até conselheiros tutelares, passando por alguns membros do Ministério Público e alguns membros do Judiciário. Então, enquanto nós temos uma legislação que prevê no Código Civil, principalmente no Código Penal, ninguém é obrigado a se submeter a tratamento que possa trazer risco à sua saúde ou à sua vida, nós temos, por outro lado, agentes públicos investidos de autoridade que perseguem as pessoas e que tentam inocular com essas injeções perigosas e cobiçosas. Parabenizo, inclusive, pelo termo, que talvez seja a palavra, essas duas palavras, elas resumam, perigosas e cobiçosas. Então, a cobiça, né, justificaria essa... Então, por que não se aceita o livre arbítrio, o livre direito de recusa de algo que possa fazer mal, trazer a perda da saúde e até a morte das pessoas? Eu gostaria que o senhor comentasse um pouquinho essa questão da indicação das injeções, da receita médica, que não houve, e muitos médicos recomendaram, mas recomendaram verbalmente, oralmente, de boca, mas não apuseram a sua assinatura e o seu carimbo embaixo para se tornarem corresponsáveis, né? E o desrespeito ao atestado de isenção vacinal, documento válido em todos os países, posto que resultado de acordos internacionais reiterados.
Do you understand, Dr. Chris? You want to make a short resume? Your mic is off. Yeah. Yeah, first of all, he just questioned about on the bulla, the doctor should, recommended this injection, and they never pay attention about this, right? It is on the bulla. The doctor should, prescribe, recommended this injection, and they don't care about it, Second of all, all these, the governments, should pay attention about this. And for example, in Portugal right now, for a kid to get this injection mRNA, they need a doctor recommendation, a medical recommendation, right? And qual que é a outra coisa? A primeira era sobre a prescrição. Qual que é a segunda, Jordão?
A prescrição, a indicação foi feita de forma pública, aí veja, midiática, né? Por que isso aconteceu? Depois,
deixa eu pegar por trecho.
O atestado de isenção.
And he said also, because since the beginning of the vaccine campaign, they use the fear that people are scared, and they just use this trigger, psychology trigger for people don't question about this, you got, took a shot, take a shot, and then, e qual que é a terceira questão?
O atestado de isenção vacinal.
And why here in Brazil, they refuse, doctor, medical certification, who don't recommend it, this shot for some kid, and some, judiciary judge or public ministerial tutelar counselor, all this story, what's going on here in Brazil. They are making coercion, pressure over the parents, and some parents just get this medical certification document who doesn't recommend this injection for their kids, and then, the justice officer just say, no, I don't accept this, this happened in Brazil, and this is basic entire world, you know, the justice cannot refuse a medical document. So he wants you to talk about this aspect, this point.
It is a very dangerous situation that you are in, and because you have problems with the judiciary as well as the president and the party in charge. And really, not only do you have to vote out your leader, but you also have to deal with Alexander de Moraes, for example. There are problems in the judiciary, but there are some good people there too. We met with the superior judge in Santa Catarina, and he was basically thinking about telling the other judges not to enforce the fines on people. So there are possibilities locally that some judiciary may be on the good side, but overall, you do have an issue with a corrupt judiciary. So the problems in Brazil are far more systemic, system-wide, than something that we doctors can do. All we can show really is this is dangerous. There's no reason for children to still be receiving COVID shots. COVID is just, if you get COVID, it's just like having a cold. You know, it's a head cold. It's nothing. It doesn't kill anybody. And so therefore you shouldn't give, even if it worked, you wouldn't give it because it's not a problem disease. You don't vaccinate against a cold, a common cold. So why would you do that? So overall, you know, it is a problem, but as I say, I think it's a systemic problem because of the government that you've got and the judiciary. And it's going to be a fight for you. You know, all we can do is to pray for you, wish you luck, and give you as much support as we possibly can.
Ok, Jordão? Tem alguma pergunta, Patrícia e Carlos? Seu microfone está aberto, Jordão. Okay, Chris, I just want to ask about if you, just for confirm, right? Do you know any other country in the world who's obligating and got mandate for kids for getting to school? Any other country? You don't know any other country who's doing this, right?
No, it is my understanding that there are no other countries in the world who mandate COVID vaccines for children. No.
Okay.
Period.
Yeah, period.
But for adults, like in Singapore, it's different.
Yeah, no, right now. Okay, it's a different situation. Okay, so my brother lives in Vienna. I got a sister, she lives in Brussels. So I got connected with, you know, tens of countries in Europe since 21. So, in my opinion, could you please confirm the entire Europe just stop the COVID jabs campaign, even for adults, elders,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
On the end of 22, could you confirm this?
Yes, in fact, it's been the case for some time now, and they are not giving COVID shots for anyone under the age of 50, period, unless there is a very good reason to do so. But there are very, very few excuses to give the shots to anyone, even if they've got immune deficiency, because there are other ways of treating and preventing COVID than giving them the shots, which are dangerous. So that's number one. Number two is, although people above 50 can get the shots, in the UK, there has to be a good reason you want to get it. Yeah. So it's the family doctors, for example, will say, oh, you're elderly, you're immune compromised, perhaps. So perhaps you ought to take your flu shot and pneumococcal shot, the COVID shot, everything. without them understanding that the flu shot doesn't work anyway, it is very, very rare to actually prevent, it doesn't prevent the flu, and maybe occasionally it reduces the severity of an illness. But that's good old-fashioned vaccines. That's before mRNA started, and the mRNA flu vaccines don't work like the original flu vaccines. It's a different kettle of fish entirely, totally different genera.
Yeah, you wanna get the flu, just take a shot, right? Just like the same for COVID, right?
I'm not taking any more shots, thank you very much. I'm keeping myself healthy.
Yeah. Pessoal, é o seguinte, eu tenho irmãos, né, que moram na Europa, eu falo com bastante gente na Europa. A Europa inteira parou as campanhas de vacina de Covid até o final de 22. Correto, Carlos? Carlos também que fala com muita gente no mundo todo, né, a Patrícia, e no final de 22 já não tinha mais país fazendo campanha de vacina de Covid para nenhuma faixa etária. E o Brasil começa em 23, o contrário. Vamos aí descer a idade, vamos homologar, vamos colocar no PNI, agora vamos forçar para colocar nas escolas. A gente está na mão contrária. E o que a gente tem observado, doutor Carlos, Jordão e Patrícia, é que as pessoas da vacina de flu, de gripe, né, de influenza, e eu tenho escutado muito, Carlos, a população é o seguinte: minha mãe outro dia chegou em casa, ela estava conversando com uma senhora no supermercado, ela falou que não vai tomar mais vacina de influenza de gripe. Por quê? Porque toda vez que ela toma, ela pega gripe. Ela toma vacina para pegar gripe. É absurdo isso.
É que realmente não é que pega a gripe, mas a vacina tem da gripe, é possível ter efeitos colaterais no mesmo dia. Então, às vezes a pessoa fala isso, daí você vai ver os médicos infectologistas, os especialistas da Globo News dizendo, não, isso é impossível. Realmente não é gripe, é o efeito adverso da própria vacina, entendeu? Eles fazem uma pegadinha de que deixa a pessoa doida, né? É como se tivesse todo mundo maluco de ver uma coisa dessa. Não, é impossível, não sabe de nada. Mas não é que é isso, é que o vocabulário não é esse, não é que pega a gripe. Mas você pode ter efeitos colaterais adversos sérios nos primeiros dias e que simulam uma gripe. Essa seria a expressão correta.
Simula, tá. Então, assim, eu queria pegar um aspecto, doutor Carlos. Tem uma mãe que ela tem dado testemunho, tá? O doutor Cris conhece, que é a Débora, é uma mãe que está com mais de 350 mil de multa porque não deu vacina de Covid para os 2 filhos. Ela está com bloqueio de conta bancária do marido e dela. Ela teve oficial de justiça para fazer penhora dos bens. Ela tem 6 filhos. E ela conta isso. Ela deu todas as vacinas. Quando ela foi dar de pneumonia, 3, 4 dias depois, o filho teve sintoma de pneumonia, foi internado, o bebê. Deu para o 2º filho, Carlos. Aconteceu a mesma coisa. Para o 3º filho ela deu a mesma coisa. Aí ela resolveu não dar mais naquele posto de saúde. Foi para uma clínica particular. Aí adivinha? Ele não teve essa reação adversa. Isso é muito curioso também, né? Então isso tem acontecido bastante. Dr. Chris, another question. Do you know Brazil, USA, CDC, they just now said this news, gonna remove, mRNA shots for kids and pregnant. So do you really believe this can cause impact, just like Carlos said, around the world?
Absolutely, because every regulatory agency relies on the FDA and the CDC guidelines as a baseline. The MHRA here in the UK, the European Medicines Agency in Europe, the TGA in Australia, and the regulatory authority in Japan all say that it's not their fault for giving the vaccines. It was the Americans' fault, the FDA and the CDC, who said it was all right to give, that it was safe and effective. So they're passing the blame back to where the blame actually lies, with the people who approved the vaccine in the first place. But everyone does rely on the CDC. Therefore, if we change the guidelines, other people will follow and there'll be no justification for Brazil to carry on. If it's not on the childhood schedule, the health minister should be pressed that he should remove the COVID shots from the childhood vaccine schedule, and there should be no more forced mandatory vaccines.
Doutor Jordão, doutor Carlos e Patrícia, vocês acreditam que essa mudança, o fato do CDC remover a inoculação em gestantes e crianças do mRNA vai ter algum impacto aqui no Brasil? Vocês acreditam? Eu queria escutar de vocês.
Eu acredito que sim. A gente também segue, né, com outros países seguem determinadas orientações que vêm dos Estados Unidos. A grande questão é em quanto tempo isso vai acontecer. E por que isso? A gente for lembrar, por exemplo, de alguns fármacos muito nocivos, e aqui vou dar o exemplo da talidomida. A talidomida, para quem não sabe, era uma medicação usada para enjoos em grávidas, e virou, assim, uma febre, né, nos anos 60. Começou a ser vendida nos Estados Unidos, depois aqui também, só que ela causou uma multidão de crianças mal formadas, sem mãos, sem pés, né, sem membros, deformados. Então, lá foi suspenso com um tempo mais célere. Aqui levou anos para pararem. Então, essa aqui é algo importante, porque quando eu estava nos bancos da faculdade, eu acho negro, né, a Patrícia, os livros chegavam aqui no Brasil traduzidos cerca de uma diferença de 10 anos após serem editados, publicados nos Estados Unidos ou na Europa. Hoje nós estamos na era da informática e da internet, né? Então, as informações, elas são online. Então, não vemos motivo para que as providências, elas também não aconteçam, né, com a rapidez necessária, né? Então, algumas coisas são, outras não. Então, depende do nível de interesse e, evidentemente, da conscientização, né, da população brasileira. Porque nós já vimos que confiar em alguns agentes públicos nos levou à situação em que nos encontramos. Então, durante a pandemia, muitas medidas anticientíficas foram implementadas e nossos agentes públicos e representantes não enfrentaram isso de maneira adequada, né? Tanto é que hoje o Brasil permanece sendo o único país do mundo a obrigar a injeção de Covid em crianças de 6 meses a 5 anos de idade. Então, uma barbaridade total e absoluta. Mas nós não vemos, né, nem agentes públicos, nem o governo, principalmente o Ministério da Saúde, que era para quem está cuidando disso, né, e o próprio parlamento está agindo de forma mais forte nesse sentido para coibir esta violência contra as crianças brasileiras, que serão os futuros cidadãos, né, que conduzirão esse país. Então, o que vai restar, né, de nossas crianças e em que condições?
Carlos, sua opinião, se você acha que vai realmente mudar algo aqui no Brasil, essa decisão do... Você concorda com ele? Patrícia, tá. Vai lá, Patrícia.
Desculpa. É que vai acabar saindo da minha cabeça. What I'm trying to say to Dr. Cris is that most of the important things here is CDC must change the definition from vaccines. I think because they are going to invent another vaccines, calling vaccines, and keep doing with the shots. So if there is not COVID, they're going to invent another shot. So I think is the most important thing. We should tell CDC to change the vaccines definition. And about if things are going to change, I hope yes. But we can realize that this is not about health. This is about politics. It depends who's going to be our president, next president. So maybe everything's going to change. Thank you.
Yes, I absolutely agree. The problem is that the CDC did change the definition of a vaccine to include, instead, they removed preventing infection, and they changed it to having an antibody response, which is where gene therapy meets vaccine. And if you know the history, at the same time that Pfizer was applying and they were in a race to get the government contract, Moderna had already submitted a request for their product to the gene therapy committee. And they decided to choose Pfizer because they said, oh, well, this is being applied as a vaccine, so therefore we'll go with the Pfizer BNT product. But they had to change the definition because there was no evidence that this could reduce the chances of getting the infection. But it was shown to produce antibodies. Now, they're not supposed to have given an emergency use authorization if there were alternative medicines that could be used to treat the disease, such as ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, etc. And so for that reason, they suppressed any discussion, and in fact, they cancelled anyone who mentioned ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, for example, because they wanted to say, that doesn't work, there are no therapeutics, therefore we can give an EUA, emergency use authorization, for this gene therapy. So that's how they got around it. So they've got to get back to where we were. A few years ago, a vaccine prevents an infection. Let's have proper placebo-controlled trials. Let the data be open to everybody to look at and see for themselves whether this is safe and effective. Because that's the only way forward that we as doctors can trust, the farmer with a product. Because until we've got proper placebo-controlled trials that we can see the data ourselves, then we're not going to trust them, period. Because the Pfizer doctors, when they were looking at the serious adverse events, every single time they said, there are no safety signals here. Wait a minute, this is a young population, average age 51, without comorbidities, and they had all these issues, autoimmune conditions, blood clots, strokes, Bell's palsy, myocarditis, etc., etc. And every single time the Pfizer investigator said there are no serious safety signals from this product. And so if the FDA committee hears from Pfizer, oh, there's no safety signals, it's perfectly safe and effective, then they can carry on recommending the use of this product. So it was all based on a lie. They lied to us. Pfizer lied, Fauci lied, the FDA lied, CDC lied, and people died. And they have to be held accountable.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to the last round. We are almost over 1 hour and 30 minutes. So for the last question and consideration from Dr. Jordão, Dr. Carlos, and Patricia, for Dr. Cris, please. Yeah,
the WHO even changed the definition of immunization. They said that the immunization is only when vaccines do it, and not natural immunization. Then they regretted and changed it again. I have the print screens. I have these print screens. So thank you for everything. Thank you for your presence here. And we will schedule another one, no, John?
Yeah, sure.
Day? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Patricia?
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Cris, Dr. Antonio, Dr. Carlos, John. It's an honor for me to be with people like you because I know we are making step-by-step little changes in the whole world. Maybe in the beginning they tried to kill us, or they tried to kill us. With fake news, they tried to shut out. They tried to do a lot of things, but I think the moment is coming. The truth is getting out, just for people like us here. So thank you very much, Dr. Cris. It's a real honor to be here. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Antonio. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Obrigado. E demais, me permitam fazer mais uma pergunta ao professor Cris.
Claro.
Professor Cris Flowers, o que é que o senhor acha da quantidade de doses de vacinas hoje existentes no calendário vacinal, notadamente infantil? Aí, por que eu pergunto isso?
Deixa eu traduzir, Jordão. Deixa eu traduzir para não perder o fio. Então, Dr. Cris, yeah, step by step. First question, what do you think about the quantity of vaccines on the calendar, infant calendar? Okay, second question.
Segunda, deixa eu emendar para ele responder.
Tá.
Mote, Joe. Aí a segunda questão é se existem estudos de acompanhamento de cada uma dessas vacinas isoladamente, de eficácia e segurança e necessidade, como disse o Negro, tá? E elas isoladamente e no conjunto. Tal vacina é boa, tal serve, e o organismo aguenta. E se todas juntas o nosso organismo suporta, se existem estudos de monitoramento, né, pelos países e por grupos independentes, tanto oficiais quanto por médicos e cientistas independentes, qual o resultado disso?
He asking if there is any, the government is monitoring, isolate the group about all the vaccines, not only about COVID jabs. If they know, the reports about this, if they follow these, patients, etc. So do you know? And if your doctors, awake doctors, made some study about this, group or individual, if they took all the shots, all the vaccines, safe and effective, they say, if you have any study about if they got harms or are they okay?
I'm not an expert on that. I think one of your upcoming speakers might be able to answer that question better. There are studies that compare Moderna with Pfizer and things like that, but I think a lot of things we're going to have to wait until the new administration have settled in, because they have said they are going to review all the vaccines on the childhood schedule. The childhood schedule means that in America, children get 72 shots before the age of 18. I don't know if that's the same in Brazil, but in total, that is a lot of shots, and they give them at the same time. So simultaneous, getting multiple injections, which we know is not a good thing, because especially with the mRNA, but also with some of the others, are suspected to affect the immune system. And if your immune system gets weakened, it doesn't respond properly, which is why they put aluminum in the vaccines to enhance your antibody response. But that is extremely dangerous. So they've really got to untangle everything that's gone on over the last decades. We have to get back to basic science. what is safe, what is effective, and if it is safe and it is effective, then yes, we can consider it. But until then, no more vaccines.
É isso aí, Dr. Jordão. Bom, pessoal, Cris Flowers, your last words before we close this live. Thank you very much for your participation. Everything you have been doing. No, obrigado. Everything you have been doing for our kids. You participate in over 10 public hearings. You went to Brazil. So, Cris Flowers is coming to Brazil in August. I just want Brazil know about. So let's provide a meeting. Carlos Negro, Patrícia, Jordão, with Dr. Cris Flowers. Okay, you're going to participate on a Congress in Brazil. So, Cris, your last words. Thank you.
Joe, Negro, Patrícia, muito obrigado.
Obrigado.
Professor Cris Flowers, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for meeting with me. I hope I've given you enough information to go away and think now. But I wish you all the best, people of Brazil. You have a hard time ahead, but let's get there. If we keep fighting, we will win.
Thank you very much. E agora vamos passar aí o vídeo, né, do Dr. Cris Flowers da apresentação. Então, obrigado a todos aí por terem assistido, participado da live. Aguarde o próximo convidado. Estaremos trazendo os maiores currículos médicos científicos do mundo. Essa é a intenção dessa live para Médicos pela Vida, trazer as referências internacionais para que vocês possam acompanhar o que está acontecendo no mundo todo. Obrigado, doutor Jordão, doutor Carlos Negro, doutora Patrícia, doutor Cris Flowers. Nos encontramos na próxima. Forte abraço.
Confie na ciência, diz Dr. Anthony Fauci. Bem, deveríamos? Essa é a questão. Então vou falar com vocês sobre os ensaios clínicos da Pfizer, que vários de nós têm analisado nos últimos 3 anos, produzindo relatórios como 2 livros e também um artigo publicado em revisão por pares sobre o ensaio clínico. Então a principal pergunta é: podemos confiar nos ensaios clínicos usados para aprovar as vacinas contra a Covid-19? Por que isso é importante? Bem, o ensaio original é no que todas as recomendações de vacinas têm se baseado no mundo todo. Uma autorização de uso emergencial, também chamada de EUA, foi concedida pela Food and Drug Administration em 11 de dezembro de 2020. No momento da reunião de aprovação, a Pfizer relatou 6 mortes, 2 no grupo vacinado e 4 no placebo, o que parecia mostrar uma redução de 50% nas mortes. Os formulários de relatório de caso mostram que houve pelo menos 8 mortes naquela época, 4 nos vacinados e 4 no placebo, portanto houve pelo menos 2 mortes ocultadas pela Pfizer. Claramente não houve redução nas mortes por tomar a vacina. Além disso, os dados de 6 meses da Pfizer sobre o ensaio revelaram que houve 38 mortes, 21 mortes no grupo vacinado e 17 mortes no grupo placebo. A conclusão disso é que você tem um pouco mais de probabilidade de morrer se tomou a vacina Covid. Fizemos uma análise aprofundada do ensaio clínico da Pfizer usando os formulários de relatório de caso fornecidos. Mapeamos o número de mortes semanalmente no ensaio clínico, comparando tanto os que receberam placebo quanto os que tomaram a vacina. E em nenhum momento durante este ensaio a intervenção com a vacina foi salva-vidas. Havia muitos problemas com o teste. O mais importante foi a destruição completa do grupo placebo, com certeza, porque... Bem, placebos são usados como controle para garantir a segurança a longo prazo de um tratamento. Após a concessão da EUA, praticamente todos os placebos receberam as injeções. Não havia mais um grupo de controle. Como resultado, não há base de referência a longo prazo para comparação de segurança. Outros problemas no teste incluíam mulheres que ficaram grávidas durante o teste. Foram excluídas sem qualquer acompanhamento. Nos Estados Unidos, isso é ilegal. Um grande número de sujeitos foi registrado como descontinuado, sem acompanhamento. O produto era totalmente diferente. O produto real que todos ao redor do mundo receberam era conhecido como processo 2, que continha muitos contaminantes não divulgados, que foram estrategicamente escondidos da FDA na época e após a concessão da EUA, quando os processos eram críticos. Mas houve muitos mais problemas com o ensaio que levariam pelo menos 1 hora para discutir. Nossas conclusões gerais foram que a intervenção não preveniu a morte. Não foi testada para segurança a longo prazo. O efeito na transmissão nunca foi estudado. Mais pacientes do experimento morreram no grupo BN2-162B2 do que no grupo placebo, e houve um grande número de sujeitos perdidos para acompanhamento. O ensaio clínico usado para justificar o uso deste produto foi falho e relatado incorretamente para obter a autorização de uso emergencial. Então, e o ensaio clínico pediátrico? Isso foi feito para o grupo etário de 5 a 11 anos na primavera de 2022. Havia 4.526 crianças em 65 locais de teste. Em 15 de junho de 2022, BPAC, que é o comitê da FDA, reuniu-se para aprovar as vacinas para crianças a partir de 6 meses, com base no grupo etário mais velho. No entanto, quando examinaram os resultados, mostrou que 2 doses não ofereceram nenhum benefício. O mesmo número de crianças contraiu Covid com a vacina em comparação com as que não tomaram. Como resultado, a FDA exigiu uma 3ª dose. Isso não deveria acontecer em um ensaio clínico. Você não muda o protocolo depois do evento. Mais de 3.000 dos sujeitos ficaram inelegíveis para completar o ensaio de 3 doses. Devido ao fato de que eles foram desvendados e receberam as vacinas se estivessem tomando o placebo antes. Após 6 meses, todos os placebos foram retirados das vacinas, então, assim como no teste com adultos, não havia base de segurança a longo prazo. Além disso, a Pfizer apresentou evidências de que os únicos anticorpos produzidos nas crianças foram para a cepa Wuhan Alpha, a primeira cepa do vírus, praticamente sem anticorpos detectáveis para a variante Omicron, que era a que estava circulando na época. Após 2 meses, havia o dobro de casos de Covid nos vacinados em comparação com o placebo. Assim, as vacinas foram administradas sem nenhuma evidência. As evidências para as vacinas Covid em crianças eram muito menores do que as evidências originais fornecidas à FDA para adultos. Não há evidências de que devem ser dadas a crianças, dados os conhecidos eventos adversos sérios, como condições autoimunes e miocardite.